For most of human history, we've been trying to figure out how to grow enough food to feed the world's population. Literally, we've been living in a food-scarce world. And when you talk to people, most people don't believe that even hunger in America is a solvable problem. Because for most of human history, it wasn't. Until now.
Members of the National Guard are being deployed across the country.
17 million more Americans could now face hunger because of the coronavirus pandemic.
More families are struggling to afford basic necessities.
There are these students making a big impact. Could they be the ones to tackle this crisis?
Tonight, young people across this country answering the call.
I think we basically had a 1 or 2 month window that we had to start this project, and if we missed that window, I think this would be a different story.
Every college student across the country was feeling the same thing, and it wasn't just hopelessness, it was feeling completely powerless.
A lot of college kids were in a similar situation of wanting to find a way to go out and help, but then not being able to leave our houses. And I almost think that this sense of not knowing, enabled people to do things that they wouldn't have otherwise.
I distinctly remember there was one image that really was the launching of this. I think it was the Pittsburgh Food Bank.
Hundreds of cars lining up for the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank before it opened yesterday.
And it was this drone shot going over a freeway pass with miles-long lines for cars, and more than half the people were turned away that day.
You know, I had a lady here yesterday with 4 little kids in the car, and she says, I'm a waitress and I don't have any food.
Millions of children rely on their school lunches, and all of our schools closed. Those lunches don't get replaced for those students.
One of our little 12-year-old girls, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and this little girl fell out of her desk, passed out, scared me to death. I ran down there and to the room, and we called an ambulance. And when we revived her, we found out that she hadn't eaten in 6 days. And her last lunch was the school lunch on Tuesday. This is Monday morning at 10.
The guidance was, what can we do? It's like, you just gotta stay home, and that's the most you can do. And you honestly felt like pretty powerless and kind of helpless. And when we then saw that crisis was happening at our local food bank, and they were gonna have to close their doors if they couldn't get more food, that's when this thing became really real for us.
My mom was sewing masks for people because there was a mask shortage. There's this PPO shortage. And so the goal at the beginning was to just help in some way.
The most amazing thing that sort of confused us, and it almost didn't know how to make sense of it, was at the same time that we were reading about these mile-long lines at food banks and these food shortages, grocery stores being out of food, we were simultaneously reading articles about farmers being forced to throw away millions and millions of pounds of food every single day. There's footage of millions of bananas going to waste, hundreds of thousands of watermelons being smashed, millions of gallons of milk being poured down the drain. And at some point, we were like, you know what, we need to do something. We can't just sit here. We just said, let's connect one farm to one food bank. I'm James, I'm a college student. I'm gonna get hung up on, how did you get my number? Who gave you this? Delete me from this list.
I just called a school bus company and was like, can we move food on the buses? They said no.
No surplus, not here.
And I hopped on Google and for 4.5 hours wrote down every farm that I could find that had been written about.
How is this possible? 75 farmers, and not a single one of them has had surplus food. Talking to all these farmers, they don't have anything, and yet I'm reading of this a massive surplus.
Oh no, it's not just that this is hard, but we were actually totally wrong about this whole thing.
I mean, it just wasn't even close. Just when we were losing hope on this idea, that was when the problems started to get worse.
1/3 of college students are food insecure. I guarantee you, people don't know that.
So I'm a sophomore at UC Berkeley, and I'm studying like the super niche major, honestly. Like I've never seen it anywhere else. It's called Society and Environment. My background is the reason I am trying to pursue anything in this environmental field. Growing up, my mom worked in the fields. You go in before sunrise and you come out after sunset. You know, they worked hard, and then there wasn't that on the table. We would walk in the neighborhood of like where there was apartments, and all the apartments had like giant dumpsters. So we would go like look through the dumpster, and like, cause I was small, she'd be like, you go in there. I would, like, if there was like unopened stuff, we would just take it, or like clothes or whatever. So it was always like, what is this system? Like, what the heck, you know?
I mean, food is, right, the most basic element for life. And the reality is that in this country, 37 million Americans don't have access to sufficient and consistent nutritious food. And I think that is like a root of a lot of our problems. I saw this article in the New York Times, and it focused in on one farmer specifically.
When you close all the restaurants, you change the whole supply chain.
He literally had to take tractors and dig a giant ditch and bury 6 million pounds of onions.
The supply chain is broken, guys. Nobody wants those onions.
If there's any chance that this idea has any hope of working, you know, we're 2 days into this, no one has replied, it is this guy. This is do or die. Picked up the phone, dialed him, and I think he just picks up the phone. Shay Meyer's here.
That was a really scary moment, actually. Very frustrating, very scary, and we usually know how to pivot. And in that setting, we didn't know what to do. It was just scary.
So what was interesting at the beginning when we were calling people is that we were talking to really small farms who might have been actually more successful because there was more local buying at that time. And Shay Myers was the one who told us, yes, at commercial farms, at large farms, we are struggling.
We had 2 million pounds of onions. We didn't know if we were gonna be able to find a home. James and Farmlink called, and I said, come get them, we've got 2 million pounds.
You know, we go pick up that U-Haul, we strap this bed sheet, you know, duct taped onto the back of the side of the car. It says Farmlink. We pick up those age of students, we drive to the farm, we deliver them to the food bank.
After we got in touch with Shay, things happened very quickly. I mean, the first 2 deliveries, both with us driving the U-Haul for the eggs and the delivery from Shay, came back to back.
My name is Martha Barajas. I'm a longtime resident of Compton for 50 years. This is how I feed my family. And not only my family, I feed my neighbors and thousands of cars.
And now the produce is high in the grocery stores, you know, so to be able to come here and to receive this food is wonderful.
We had so much to learn so quickly. So I remember we got connected with another charitable food organization, and we said, hey, we see this problem that's happening across the country. We know demand has doubled. This is our organization. We're moving all this food. Is there anything that we can do to help? Because we know you guys understand this space. And I remember them kind of like looking at us, you know, like almost like laughing.
And they said, you guys can't help. Like, just keep, you know, just keep hanging out of your houses, worry about your families. We got this covered. I'm sorry, but you don't have it all handled. So if there's any small way we can help, even, you know, just locally, just let us know. But we were totally kind of brushed off.
I mean, it was a national organization with serious resources. You know, if they wanted to, they could snap their fingers and move all of this food. But yeah, they're slow to responding to it. And it wasn't just one, it was multiple organizations. Good for you guys for doing something, but you know, we'll take it from here. It really pissed me off. I remember leaving that call angry but motivated as ever that we had something to prove.
And I don't think anybody had any idea of what was gonna happen next.
This is World News Tonight with David Muir. Finally tonight here, the children teaching us what it means to be America strong.
So someone just texted, you guys are on the world news. Immediately, everything just blew up.
ABC World News Tonight is the most watched newscast in the entire world.
Tonight, young people across this country answering the call. College students starting Farmlink, connecting farmers with food banks.
Students from all around the country started responding to our little website.
Hi Farmlink, my name is Jane.
I'm Alex. I'm Annika Patel. I'm a sophomore at Bates College.
I grew up food insecure and wanted to make sure other people didn't go food insecure.
Suddenly we had a team of 100, 150 people.
Hauling thousands of farmers a day.
We're sending food from Oregon to California, all the way out to Florida. We're getting food from the East Coast.
All the adults in the world haven't figured out how to end world hunger, but these college students aren't willing to take no for an answer. Like, that gets people's attention.
I remember we had this one goal. Let's move 1 million pounds of food. And if we could do that, I mean, that would be amazing. And within 3 weeks, we'd moved 1 million pounds of food.
In a day and a half, we had $150,000 in our friend's bank account. Like, holy.
This is something much bigger than any of us realized.
We love it. Good night.
Now this is the crew I've got to work for me, and you talk about pains in the rear, we got them. And that man right there, I hadn't seen him do a day's work in 6 months, so I'd like to get him on camera for sure. How you doing, JR? I'm doing good right now. We're in the northeastern part of Oklahoma. Yeah, we're probably 70 or 80 miles from Tulsa, but we're basically a rural area. Now that the groceries have gotten higher, our crowd's getting bigger, and it's gaining every day. We're getting more now than we were 2 months ago, just because of the price of food.
Millions of families were still flooding a charitable food system that was never designed for a crisis. At the time, we'd moved 1 million pounds of food, but the thing was, to really change things, we'd have to move 100 million pounds of food. And it was like, how are we gonna do that? Because our whole team, we're in school right now, half our team is in finals. Hey, it's been a week, we haven't moved any food. Hey, it's been 2 weeks, we haven't moved any food. Is this really gonna kind of work? It definitely settles in. Hey, we have an important role to play here, and we need to step it up, and we sort of need to put, school and life and all those other things on hold, and this is what we need to be focused on right now. And it was like, just a cascade of people who all of a sudden jumped ship and said they're all in.
The biggest thing that became interesting to me was the logistical processes that broke down as the agricultural supply chain became untethered. Whether it's going to go to waste in the field, in transition, while it's being moved to a grocery store, when it's at the grocery store, we want to make sure that Farmlink can capture any of that waste.
Jordan and Caroline were like superheroes. They were flying, remember I described that potato deal that took like 30 hours for us to coordinate? They were coordinating like 40 of those every week.
We worked with the Navajo Nation, and we worked in Bakersfield, in Brooklyn. We did a deal in Hawaii. We were all over.
Yeah, I got this one guy on the line. I don't remember exactly where the farm he was from. I think it was around 3,000 pounds of potatoes. This food's gonna go off and literally help thousands of people. And that was kind of like that. Oh shoot, like this is the impact that this organization can have.
The missing link is just the transportation. It's the logistics to get it there. And that's what we can do. I think what we started to realize is, well, like all of Farmlink, all the students, we were united by one mission. People were there for a lot of different reasons. I remember one student, Joe, and he's like literally the most lively kid you've ever met. And I remember, we've known him now for like 4 months, and we're at our end of ceremony thing, and everyone's sharing, and I remember Mark, he starts speaking, and he's so positive. Hey everyone, and he explained to us that passed away from COVID. And he explains, like, this was the only thing that kept him going, was Farmlink. Like, instantly, like, just bawling, crying.
My dad was a believer in helping people. He came from a very rough background himself, and he always believed in paying it forward in any way he could. And, you know, it's something he instilled in me, and it was a way feeling closer to my dad, and also fighting back against what took him from me.
Even the people in the most pain right now were willing to do something to help others. And I think for a lot of people, and myself included, like, Joe sharing that with us was just proof of how strong the bonds are.
One by one, as the world seemed to return to normal, we were seeing all these organizations that had popped up during the last 2 years start to go away.
A lot of people came together to support healthcare workers and first responders. So my line of questioning was, is this it, or are you gonna go the distance?
People kept asking us, oh, the pandemic's over, there won't be any more surplus food, right? And it's like, no, that's completely wrong. This is literally just the beginning.
It feels like we have one of the biggest opportunities to solve a major issue that I could possibly imagine, and it's right in front of us. Every single year, 30 to 40% of the food that's grown, that's quality, nutritious food, goes to waste. Doesn't even make it to the grocery stores, doesn't even make it to your table.
These 7 grains of rice represent the average amount of food someone eats in a lifetime. And then this is how much food goes to waste in America each year.
This was not a problem caused by the pandemic. These were systemic issues that were exacerbated by those conditions. And people are really starting to talk about it.
This is a tomato I bought from the grocery store. And here are 3 tomatoes that would have been thrown away on a farm. Can you spot the difference? This one here is a little too mushy. This one has a small dent in it. And this one, well, suppliers cut the contract last minute, so it has nowhere to go. And it's not just one tomato here and there. It's a whole system designed to throw away 30% of all food.
We're growing enough food to feed every person on this planet. We're growing enough food to feed the population nearly 2 times over. And I think when we started to realize, wow, this is much bigger than just the pandemic, than just responding to the crisis, we needed to bring in the big guns.
My name is Luis Fernando Yepiz.
Where are you from?
I was born in Ciudad Obregón, Sonora, Mexico. I decided to join Farmlink because I believe with my whole heart that we can create a system which will allow everyone to have access to food, to make sure that we give aid to communities that have been neglected for decades. I grew up with a lot of people that even working all day, every day, they couldn't make enough to eat. I grew up with kids that their idea of lunch was to go to the fruit trees and, you know, taking a mango to eat. I see food recovery as an arrow that is breaking new ground as it hits space. And in the Farmlink project, I saw the future. I saw the Farmlink project being the tip of that arrow.
There are people who are experts in their domain who are choosing to join Farmlink because they view it as this movement for change. We have Mike Meyer, this Texas farmer who knows US agriculture like the back of his hand, and Luis Yepiz, who has spent his entire life thinking about how we can rescue food throughout the supply chain. And what unites everyone is still what united us at the start. It's this feeling that we are doing something really special and something new and urgent and important.
Mike sent us this memo, and you start to go through it, and it shows us one county in Texas, and population this many people, percent food insecure, this many percent. All of a sudden, you finish this math, you follow it, and for $75,000, we can solve hunger in that county. And I remember Mike just going, "We're going to do this block by block." We're gonna do this county by county and state by state, and we actually can bring an end to this.
This was just a project to help our local food bank. And now it's grown into something that has the capacity to feed millions of people every single day with dignity.
But we can only do it if we can all work together. It's gonna take a movement of people.
Farmlink. Farmlink. Want to give the Farmlink project a check for $15,000.
I've seen food waste in my entire career, and this group is tapping into something really special.
大学生が立ち上げたプロジェクト、Farmlink.
Just this week, more than 600,000 avocados distributed at FDR Park.
1 million pounds of food. Farmers and food banks telling them they are grateful.
People don't think students are really capable of anything. Oh, leave this to the adults.
As of yesterday, we've saved 60 million pounds of food.
And I think what we really believed was that in times of crisis, it's young people who step up to lead.
Hi, this is Jane. For our movement to create lasting change, we need your help. With $10 a month, you can provide over 150 meals worth of nutritious produce to families facing food insecurity. The food is out there. Truckloads of fresh mangoes, millions of apples left on trees, and enough produce to stock every food pantry. Click the link in the description below to learn more, donate, and join the movement.